Good evening, Rabbi. I want to tell you a little about the candles of Chanuka. Where's the mitzvah? What is the mitzvah of Chanuka? They say the Chazal in Masechet Shabbat, it's brought down over there, that every day the minimum that a person is supposed to light is one candle every day. So what does that mean? The first night, one candle. Second night, also one candle. Third night, one candle every day until the eighth day. This is the basic mitzvah. But it says that the mehadrin, right, the ones who are more medaktek in the mitzvot, they're more particular about the mitzvot. What they do is they add one candle every day. Why is that? To show the miracle that every day it was a miracle, one more ness. That the candle, which was really only for one day, lasted for 8 days. So we do one more and one more. So what does that mean? That if a person, let's say for instance, he's in a place where he doesn't have a lot of candles over there. He went to vacation somewhere, whatever. He only has one candle. So he should light that and make the bracha. Why? Because that's enough for the mitzvah, really. Even one candle is enough. Doesn't matter which night it is. So if he only has one, he should light one. That's it. And he's yatzai dechovai, full obligation. But a person who has more, Baruch Hashem, we have more. We have candles, we have lots of candles, we have lots of oil, we have lots of everything. So because of that, you should do the mehadrin, the way which is supposed to be done, the more precise way, more medakdek. So what does that mean? That you should add one candle every day until the eighth day. You get to the 8 candles. So this is the mitzvah that we have to do with the candles. Also, depending on what you do, right? Some people use oil, some people use candles, paraffin or wax. So if you're using oil, if you're using candles, the candle has to be big enough to last for 1/2 hour, at least minimum, because this is the mitzvah, that it has to be lit for 1/2 hour. Usually the candles are big enough, unless you're using something like used candle. That's not good, right? To use a used candle. So when you're using a new candle, those have more than enough time. They have an hour maybe, so that's good enough. But if you're using oil, you have to make sure that there's enough oil in there to light for 1/2 hour at least. If a person doesn't have enough oil in there to light for 1/2 hour, lo yitzai dechota, he didn't fulfill his obligation like that, because the rabbis decree that it has to go for 1/2 hour. So therefore, when you light it, you have to have enough oil there for 1/2 hour at least minimum. But here's the thing, right? That's only for Yom Chol. But what about Erev Shabbat on Friday? There, we're lighting early, as we said, right? We mentioned that before. We're lighting, about, let's say, 4 o'clock, before the sun goes down, 1/2 hour before the sun goes down. Or maybe a little bit before, 3:50, 4 o'clock, whatever it is, something like that, right? We light on Erev Shabbat, we light the Hanukkah candles, but there, since now we're lighting in the daytime, so a person has to put more oil in there. 1/2 hour is not enough. Why? Because if you just put enough for 1/2 hour, it's going to go out before Shabbat comes in, and the whole thing is we want it to be burning at night, so therefore a person should put more, enough that it should be also burning at night for 1/2 hour. So you should put enough, like let's say for an hour and a half, enough oil. Well, the candle also should have enough to burn for that long, because this way it's going to burn 1/2 hour into Shabbat. This is the proper thing to do. So this way, right, we do the mitzvah properly by having it burn at night, when it's really the mitzvah. So that's what the person has to do Erev Shabbat. He has to put a little bit more oil in there in order to solve that problem. Also, another thing, the Chazal said that hadlaka oseh mitzvah, right? Velo hanacha oseh mitzvah. You know what that means? The mitzvah of Chanukiah is when you light the candles. That's when you do the mitzvah, and not when you place the menorah somewhere. So what does that mean? The Chazal say, because of that, make sure that when you light the Chanukiah, you shouldn't move it then to somewhere else, some other place. You're not allowed to move it anymore. Did you ever hear this halakha before? It says in the Shulchan Aruch like this, First, make sure you put it in the right place where you want it to be. As we said, right, on the window or by the door or on your table, whatever you want to put it. But you should be already, ready to go, and that's the place you're going to keep it there. So don't light it and then take it like this, lit, and move it to a different place. Asur. It says the Shulchan Aruch, if he did that, lo yitzai dechovah, he didn't fulfill his obligation. Can you imagine? It's like he didn't do nothing. Why is that? Because, what they say? That when you pick it up like this, when it's already lit, and you move it to a different place, it looks like you're doing this for like a flashlight, to get some light. You need some light to go here or there, doesn't look like you're doing it for Hanukkah. So this is the reason why the Chazal said, once you light it, don't touch it anymore, don't move it to another place, because otherwise you're not going to do the mitzvah properly, right? You have to make sure that this is the order that a person has to do. Another thing I want to tell you is interesting, which is that a person who lights the Chanukkah candles, and then what happens is, right, that it went out. Let's say it didn't light. So what about that, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, he lit the Chanuka candle, and the wind came and blew it out. Boop. And so it wasn't lit for a half hour. Even less. Whatever, 5 minutes, 2 minutes it was lit. Went out. So what's halacha? Do you have to light it again or not? Or also, do you have to make a bracha or not? That's the question, right? To make a bracha again, if it went out. So the answer is, right, it says Maran Shulchan Aruch, since we said hadlaka also mitzvah, right, the mitzvah is the lighting, so once you lit it, you did the mitzvah, that's it. So you're not really obligated anymore to light it again. You're not obligated. You could if you want, but that's not anymore any mitzvah there. Just for yourself, to see the lights makes you happy, Oh, I feel good, I see the lights of Chanuka. That's nice. Beautiful. Okay, makes you feel good. But you didn't do a mitzvah, so therefore you're not allowed to make a bracha. You cannot say again, le'adlik ner Chanuka, one more time. You cannot do a bracha levatala. It's a blessing in vain, because you already lit one time. That's it. Even though it wasn't lit for a half hour, nevertheless you did the mitzvah because you already lit it. But that's only when does it apply? When, as we said, there has to be enough oil in there or enough candle to go for a half hour. Then you did the mitzvah. But if it wasn't enough, then you didn't do the mitzvah. So therefore, once you light it, that's it. You don't have to light it again. But if you enjoy it, light it again. No bracha. That's what we said, right? Very good. Good to know that. Another thing I want to tell you is like this. What happens with the oil which is left over from Hanukkah? Left over, like after Hanukkah finishes. So there's a halacha about this also. That once it became kadosh for Ner Chanukah, you're not allowed to use it anymore for some other purpose. Let's say you want to put in your salad, some olive oil, put it into a salad. You can't do that, right? Take the oil from the Chanukiah and put it into your salad. You can't do that, or to fry some latkes, whatever, right? Something like that. But you can't do that. Why? Because you already used it for kadosh. It's kadosh. Now you can't use it for something which is chol. You understand? So when does this apply? This applies when a person it wasn't lit for a half hour. But if it was already lit for a half hour, whatever's left over there is not kadosh. You know why? Because the mitzvah is only half hour. That's it. So whatever's left in there after half hour, it's not kadosh. So that he can use for other things, right? No problem. Because that's not the kadosh. Doesn't have any kedusha because it's not for the mitzvah. Mitzvah is only half hour. So what do you see from there? You see that a person, right? Let's say, especially if he left it in a bottle. Let's say, right, he bought a bottle of olive oil. He put it on the table right next to the menorah. So does that mean the whole bottle now is kadosh? No, because he didn't use it for the mitzvah yet. Until you put it in, and you light it, you didn't do the mitzvah yet. So therefore, right, we call that. Right, Hazmana lav mikmitahi. It says in the Gemara. What does that mean? The preparation is not considered to be using. You have to actually use it to become kadosh. So just because you put it there, and you didn't light it yet, even right. Let's say you put it into the cup, but you didn't light it yet, so it's not kadosh yet. The kedusha only comes when you light it. Then it's kadosh. So as we said, right, that if it went out early and it was less than a half hour, then whatever is in there is kadosh. So what does a person have to do with that oil, by the way? That got left over like that. The kadosh. What does he have to do? He has to burn it because he's not allowed to get hana from it, any benefit from it. So therefore, he has to burn that oil. But as we said, right, that's only when it was the situation we mentioned that it wasn't lit long enough. It went out before a half hour, and then it's kadosh. But after a half hour, it's not kadosh. That's the difference. Okay. Another interesting thing I want to tell you, like this, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, of course. So another interesting thing I want to tell you is like this. That question is like this, when we have the shamash, right? What is the purpose of the shamash? Why do we have a shamash? An extra candle. What is the purpose of that? The purpose is that it says, right, that we're not allowed to get hana, benefit from the candles, to use the light of the candles for Hanukkah. You're not allowed to use it for mundane purposes, for your own purposes. So therefore we put a shamash. Why? Because if you use the light, he's using the shamash. Not the Hanukkah candles, because the Hanukkah candles you're not allowed to use them for the light. So there's a halacha like this, by the way, that for instance, you're not allowed to use the Hanukkah candles on Motzi Shabbat. To use it for Havdalah. You're not allowed to use that. Why? Because this is not the purpose of that, right? You're not doing it for the mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles. It's a different thing. So therefore, you're not allowed to do that. You can't use the Hanukkah candles for Havdalah. You have to use different candles for Havdalah. Can't use the same thing for both, This is the reason why. So therefore, right, it goes like this. The shamash sits there, and it protects you from using the lights of the Chanukiah. This is why we have a shamash. And this way, right, there should be no problems. Also, another interesting thing is, that when you're lighting the Hanukkah candle, one after the other, right, or whatever, you're not allowed to take that candle, the Hanukkah candle, and light something else with it. Let's say you want to smoke a cigarette, God forbid, right? I hope you don't smoke, but if you do, right, right, not good for your health, but okay, what can we do, right? That's a different story. But if you smoke cigarettes, right, you can't take Hanukkah candle, and light your cigarette with that. You know why? Because you're using kadosh for something which is chol. You understand? So this is not allowed to do that. So you have to be careful, The Hanukkah candle cannot light some other thing. So what can it do? The only thing you can use a Hanukkah candle for is to light another Hanukkah candle. That you can do. One to the other. Let's say you have now, right, let's say the 6th day, right? So you have 6 candles, so to light one from the other is mutar. Because they're all the same. They're all kadosh. So therefore you're allowed to use any one of them to light one to the other. But if you're using it for something which is chol, as we said, right, or let's say to light a match, let's say you want to cook something. So you take the match, and you spichka, you take and you light your gas with that. You can't do that. You understand? You can't do that because you can't take from the Hanukkah candle and use it for something which is chol. So this is the reason why that you have to be careful, not to use the Hanukkah candles for chol. But to go from one to the other, it's allowed because they're all kadosh. But here's the thing, right? Let me ask you a question now. Is the shamash kadosh? The shamash. Is it kadosh? No, this is just coming to help you, for the other mitzvah, for the other nerot. Shamash has no kedusha. You understand? So therefore, you can't take a Hanukkah candle and light the shamash. You cannot do that. Why? Because the shamash is not kadosh. This is the thing, So according to some opinions, say, the Ramah says you can't do that, right? But there's also another opinion, but down Shulchan Aruch, that you're allowed to do that. Why? Because even though you're lighting now the shamash with the Hanukkah candle, but you're going to use that shamash also for the Hanukkah candle, another Hanukkah candle. So therefore it says, since you're using it for mitzvah, in the end, it's allowed to do that. So the truth is, the halacha is that you're allowed to. If you're using it to light the shamash, and the shamash is going to light another Hanukkah candle, that's mutar. Why? Because in the end you're using it for Hanukkah. So therefore it's allowed. But the Ramah doesn't allow that. According to Ramah, so Ashkenazim are more machmir about this. But to light one candle from the other, you're allowed to do. Why? Because they're all mitzvah. The truth is, that the other ones are not so much mitzvah like the first one, as we said, right? Because the ikar, the real. I'm sorry. It's okay. Okay. So the ikar mitzvah is only the one candle, So the other ones are not so much mitzvah, but since we're using it from mehadrin, so they're all considered to be mitzvah. So therefore, you can light one to the other. That's not really a problem. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen. Amen.